Hi, everyone. This is David Graham, founder of Iron 24. I'm here with Marty Flanagan. We're going to talk to you today on the Iron Path about what's what new franchisees need to know as they're getting started or as they're going through the candidate process. We have a lot of different little things that we're going to bring at you today. Marty's going to start it off and just let us know some of his initial thoughts on what new franchisees really need to focus on and what's important.
Yeah, when when you sent this topic over, I was really like thinking about it more and just thinking of like, okay, what do we see that happens? And has happened with multiple brands. And what I think new franchisees need to know is transition. You're about to go from the development process into the onboarding process. And that transition, it can really kill the culture if it's not set up properly, and new franchisees slash candidates don't understand like what's to come. The franchise development side of the business is very attentive. There's a lot of moving parts. It can happen very fast in terms of all this information being thrown. So it can be and very quick. Like, what about this? What about that? And keeping it organized. And then there's this transition. And the development side is call me anytime, text me anytime, email me anytime. I'll get back to you as soon as I get your email. If I miss your call, I'll call you right back. So there's this really high service that is required in that process, because if a landlord calls, or contractor calls, a bank calls, and all these things are moving, you have to get answers faster. Now, when you transition into the onboarding process, it's a process. It's not the wild west like the development process. Yes, it's there, but information comes at all these different timelines. When you go to onboarding and you're a franchisee, you're now in this timeline that's very focused. So you're being onboarded. You're going to be going into getting your email, getting your website, setting up your Facebook page. Then all your other social medias. Then you're diving into all the resources, all the educational resources, all the things on the inside that operationally wise, and everything is very structured and organized, because most franchise brands know this and most folks know this, but you can sell a ton of franchises. That's not going to be the biggest issue. The biggest issue is getting open. So when
Yeah,
a
I
lot
think
of times,
an important part of
yeah,
that is you're talking about there's like more of a reactionary methodology to the franchise development, because you're trying to give people what they need to make decisions, like these important
yes,
decisions that are going to be life changing and game changing. So you're very
yes,
reactionary. You already know the path, like how do you go from lead in our system, so to speak, to full-fledged franchisee, but you're filling gaps along the way for people who want to possibly potentially buy in there, but also we're eliminating people who we don't think are a perfect fit on our side too. So like the whole time you're constantly kind of re-envisioning, redoing and giving more information for every single candidate in a very customized kind of way, because
yes.
they're going to come with different buckets to fill, right? They're going to come. And so I think what you're kind of saying is that when you transfer that very reactionary, that very hyper reactionary fill the bucket mode to kind of stable on rails, try to get you open in 6 months, here's your timetable, kind of fill the buckets. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a kind of it's a shock to the system almost if you don't do it right. Is that what you're?
Yeah, because there's multiple transitions. You're transitioning from this person like
Yeah.
me that you could have been working with for a matter of 6 months, 6 weeks. You could have been working with me for a year. Our normal process is about 6 to 8 weeks, but there's people that don't fit in that process. So here we have this relationship. We're talking on a regular basis. Now you're transitioning from me to my team,
Yeah,
right?
it's
That's
not like
one.
you'd fall off the earth. I mean, you talk to
Yeah.
franchisees all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, all the time. It's not, and then there's the transition of what you're actually the decision making process that you're in. You're leaving that and entering a new decision making process. So it's not only this logical emotional change, it's also a personnel change. So there's multiple transitions happening. And when you go from
Yeah.
becoming, being a candidate to now being a franchisee, it's not just you're having to transition out of a mindset into a different mindset that's more structured, that's more organized, that's more methodical than emotional. And not everybody's emotional, and I'm not throwing everybody into one bucket. I'm just saying in general. And then I'm emotional with you, right? So we'll be talking about all these different things and getting all excited together. And then
Passionate.
it's like, then we're going into this very like, okay, I need to do this. It's very checklist. I need to do this. I need to do this. So you're having to go through that checklist, and that's way different than the initial process. And it's very customized to you as a person. How does
Yeah.
Dave like to absorb information? We're going to customize the process how Dave likes to evaluate his opportunities.
Yes. I mean, some people like me do all their work up front. All
Yes.
they look for all the before they'll even talk to a human being. Like I go and
Yep.
I research the company. I do this. I do that. I sit on calls like this. When I was a franchisee before, I told you this last episode, but I did all the research way before I talked to a guy
Mm-hmm.
like you. And I had it already kind of in my head that I was going to do it because I feel like if I come to that conclusion without talking to a member of that team, they've done their job right. They've put the pieces together in a way that I can understand. And that means that they're probably going to have all their act together after I become a franchisee. Like, you get
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
Like, I wanted to see like the cohesive brand message. I wanted to see like that they thought through all these little bits and pieces. And so, like, when we give these things, uh, like this podcast, or we do other things that are like executive calls, or even like every time we go and re-envision what Discovery Day means, or it's not making it better.
I'm doing my best.
That was pretty good. So it's the you look like you're in a dungeon. Well, we're gonna have to
Yeah.
have Dungeon Marty today. That's okay. But whatever it is we're doing, we're moving from you going into engage, or what we call Discovery Day now is called engage, because that's when you're going to get to meet all of the team, and that transition period that you're talking about is so important. You come to engage, you either have a signed franchise agreement or you sign it that day, and then that starts your training. It's not like we don't want to wait. We want to get you to revenue as fast as possible. So that means
Yep.
you need to learn some fundamental things, and we need to make sure that you have the technology set up right. We need to make sure that you understand where to go. And I want you to know, look, if you have a problem, our franchisee success team member, this is her. You call her. Like, she's your new Marty, like
Yeah.
from up to this point, you called Marty for everything, and that's great. And he's a good dude. But now you call her, this person, for everything. It could be a
Yep.
number of different people, but
Yeah.
and I think that transition right there is important, because you'll be here, they'll be here, they'll see like, okay, I'm not just like handed off to some random team. There's an individual that's accountable for your success. A single human being in our company will be accountable for your success. And if you don't succeed, they are held accountable to that.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, part of their entire structure of their compensation is built around your success. You're literally on the same side of the table with them
Yeah.
moving forward. Like, I don't want to go into their compensation structures and things like that, but we incentivize successful franchisees from our franchisee success team, obviously.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I think everything about going in, when you're going into this process, what you need to know is there's a lot of different steps in the transition between a candidate, which is somebody that has interest, and a franchisee, who is somebody who has signed a franchise agreement and paid their franchise fee. Those two teams are different, but the idea is the same: filling the buckets and filling the needs of whatever you need at that time. But that goes from like reactionary to more prescripted.
Well, and you're going from evaluating all of your opportunities to now you've made a decision. That is quite the process to walk through. And so all these little transitions, life is full of changes. It's the transitions that kill more than the change. No matter
Yeah,
how drastic the change is, if the transition is done properly, then the change is not the issue. It's going to be the transition.
right.
Change happens with seasons. Change happens every single day when we wake up. It's the transitions that stress everybody out. It's, in my experience, it's the transition in between grand opening and opening. pre-sale and opening, soft openings. All
Well, the
it's always
transition is
setting
the
I used
time
to
of the
always,
unknown, and being unknown and
yeah.
being living in ignorance is kind of fearful, fear inducing, right? And you don't want to be there very long. So if you're in a transition mode, I mean, by definition, you're not in a solid place. You're in between two solid places, right? And
Yeah.
but we want to get you
So
to that solid place as quickly as possible, like step over the gap really easily.
so what does it mean to be like to in this whole discussion? What does it mean, or what can you take away from it is understand that that transition has to be filled with grace. It's going to be filled with grace on our side, and it needs to be filled with grace on your side.
Yeah.
There are going to be missed appointments. Maybe it's on your side, maybe it's on our side. There are going to be some aspects of this that are not always going to flow your way on your time. So there's certain things you're going to have to schedule more calls versus just calling me randomly, which I'm okay with. So it's more of you're going to go into a very structured system, and you want that as a new franchisee. You want a checklist, you want a project management document or system to follow. You don't want it to be chaotic. You need it to be very focused, and that's how you get open. So when you hear Dave continuing to say that, a lot of times franchisees be like, oh yeah, of course you do, because you want us to be good royalties. That's not what Dave is saying. Dave is very focused. When people talk about our last ventures and they say, I don't know how you guys did that, I don't know how you guys stayed that organized, that is because we put a very solid structure in place at first, and it was very focused. And we did that same thing
We
here.
focus on the
So
process. We focus on the
yes,
process, and we lay down a process, and we make sure that there's an accountable person for every single step of that process. Not a team. You don't go over to the compliance team, and the whole compliance team as a group isn't responsible for getting that task done. John on the compliance team is responsible, or Liza is responsible, or whoever that individual is, and then they can be held accountable. I can't hold the whole team accountable.
yeah.
And so it's like accountability plus prescriptive track, of process. And I think that, I mean, I didn't make this up. I mean, Elon Musk talks about it all the time. Jeff Bezos talks about it all the time. Large systems or anything that where you have to be able to scale has to be on a ability, has to have mega process oriented ideas and approaches to it. Otherwise, it just doesn't work, right? You'll never be able to get 50 franchisees supported by a team of a few people. And that's what we have to have in franchising. So
Yeah.
so
And I
there's
want
a
to
lot
say,
of things in there, like, and you said, okay, so one of the things I love about franchising is that I can say this and with a straight face, and I don't think it's duplicitous. Like, I'm not being nefarious. I'm not trying to be the big bag corporate greedy person in the world. I can say, yes, I want you to get to generating royalties as fast as humanly possible. I mean, I can say that out loud because that's how I make money, right? I'm
mhm.
not opposed to making money, Marty. I don't know if you know that.
I got
But
an idea.
yeah, but I can say that because if I'm making money, they're making money.
Yep.
We're on a percentage based royalty. This is not a fixed royalty. Like you don't just give me $500 a month just because. This is if you make $100, I get $6, and I want you to make $100,000, so I get 6,000. And as sooner we can get that ball rolling, the better it is for everybody. Because as soon as we start making those royalties, especially in companies that are in startup mode, I roll that right back into the support.
Yep.
I roll that right back into the technology, and the whole thing just starts expanding. The whole thing gets bigger than it was the day before. So yeah, it might sound like I'm pushing you to get open so that we can start the royalties. Well, you know what? I'm also pushing you to get open so you can start paying off some of those expenses you just invested. I am also making sure that you are going to meet your debt obligations if you have to take a loan. I'm also trying to make sure that you're getting open within the window that you negotiated with your real estate partners. So, like, there's definitely some part of me that wants to start making money a little bit earlier, but there's also really, I want to see the success of my franchisees, because the success of those franchisees is the success of my company.
And then on top of that, with that, I should say, is when like when you talk about this whole topic of what to expect, you're also going to start to evaluate who you call for what, or when you
Yeah.
put a ticket in, how you're going to say it. And tickets in our system are when there's a issue comes up, maybe it's after hours, maybe it's on a weekend, maybe, but we always want you putting tickets in. It doesn't mean you can't make a phone call. Doesn't mean you can't go on Microsoft Teams and message us, but you'll start to really see who you should be talking to. If you're dragging, sorry to say it this way, but if you're dragging ass that day, and you're just not motivated, you just can't get it together, call, message me, send me a message, be honest with me, tell me what's going on, and let's talk. I talk to franchisees to really communicate almost every day, right? So I'm going from talking to new candidates coming into our system to talking to franchisees. So I'm staying in that mix and able to really hear what new, and we're going to do a podcast on this too, is what makes a great franchisee. And I'm going to
Yeah.
save a lot of this for that. But when we talk about that, because I think I have a very different view than some people do on that. And then we'll dive into it. But when it comes to understanding who you talk to for what, I got to know you for probably 2 months. I got to
Mm.
know you going through a very big decision in your life.
Hmm.
You're investing this money. So I have to go to sleep at night, right? So when I bring you into the system, is because I believe in you. So if I believe in you and got to know you for 2 months and got to understand you for a little bit, and now you're in the system and maybe you're 2 months in, 3 months in, I had a phone call this morning from a franchisee asking me a few different questions. I got a text message last night at 11 o'clock at night, sending me pictures and such. So of
But
their space.
excited about the opening and that kind of stuff all the
Excited,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just questions. But if you're, now there are some franchisees that I have messaged over the last 2 weeks who have yet to respond to me.
Yeah.
I
Because,
know
well,
how
they're probably busy
well,
getting open or,
yes, and yes, exactly. But the point is like you're going to hear from me no matter what.
yeah.
I'm going to reach out to you. You're going to reach out to me. If I don't respond to you, that's a problem. If you don't respond to me, that's not a problem. It's okay not to respond to me, but it's not
It-
okay for me not to respond to you. So
right.
understand that if you don't hear from me, that's not okay. But if I don't
Right.
hear from you, we don't take it personal. Go on. I hope you're
Sure.
being busy.
Yeah.
I hope you're out there crushing it and you just don't have time.
Right. I think a lot of that comes down to how personal this experience is for everybody that does it. It's one thing to say, "Oh, I'm going to go start my own business," but it's another thing to say, "I'm going to start my own business using most of the money I've ever made in my life and putting, everything in on this, taking time away, from anything else that I'm doing in my life, and then investing all of that energy into this thing that you've built." I mean, that's a personal thing. I don't care how you dice it up. And if we ignore the kind of humanity of that, and by the way, almost everybody has some big thing that happens during that 2 month process of becoming going from candidate to franchisee. Somebody's car got broken into, somebody's kid got sick, or whatever. There's always something, and you overcame that together. So if you deny the humanity part of that equation, then I don't think you're doing our candidates and our franchisees any service, or us. That we're humans on the other side of that too, man. And that's how you become so, I guess, invested, not just emotionally, but just personally with these candidates as you're going through the process, because you hear about the
Mm-hmm.
car accident their wife got into or whatever. I mean, it's not all tragic. Sometimes it's
Not
you
it,
know
but I was just talking to a candidate the other day. We're chatting, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sore," and I'm like, "Why are you sore?" He goes, "Oh, a drunk driver ran through the building and hit me with their car,"
Jeez.
and I'm like,
And
"What?"
it's crazy how many times we hear stuff like that, right? Or
Yeah,
a
that was 2 weeks
hurricane
ago.
came
That
through
was two
Florida
weeks.
and
Yeah,
knocked out power for 2 weeks. Well,
yeah,
and then they got through it, and then they're excited on the other side of that. But you were calling the whole time, checking in on the family, making sure everybody was
yep,
okay. Can we send you something? You got a generator? Can we send you a care package? Something, like that's a personal thing, and that's an investment you're
yeah.
making. And I mean, let's face it, somebody that's probably kind of a stranger at that point, but we're personally making an investment in them, even at that
I
early
think it's
stage.
I think it's so strange when I talk to my colleagues out there that are in franchise development and they don't engage with their franchisees, their current franchisees.
Yeah.
And I hear this on a regular basis. This isn't like something that is a once in a while thing. It is
Yeah.
something that is a regular occurrence when I talk to them and they tell me, I'm like, we'll just, because I have colleagues, I have people that I've worked with for 10 years out there in franchise development. We'll talk and they don't engage with their franchisees. And I'm so dumbfounded by
They're
that.
just
I'm
one
like,
and done.
one and done. They go through the franchise development process. Then when they become a franchisee, they're done. They no longer engage with that person. And I'm like, I don't personally think I could do that. I have to engage.
Well, I mean, you're a
I
good
can't
human
just sit
being.
back and do
You're
nothing.
saying because you're a good human being, and I know you to be a good human being, so I know that's true. But just from a pragmatic sense, it doesn't make any sense. Like,
I yeah.
just from a
I,
business sense, doesn't make any sense. Those people, if they're happy in opening great facilities, you'd want to stay in touch with them as a franchise development person because they're going to know people who are going
like if you made
to
it a
like.
rule and you said, okay, Marty, you can no longer talk to current franchisees, that would be a very difficult transition. And you've said it to me in the
First of
past,
all, first of
and a
all, I don't think I could
different
ever
brand.
make you stop talking. I
Yeah,
just,
truth, truth.
what would you do if I said that though? Stop talking to
I
franchisees.
I don't know. That'd be tough. I mean, that would be very difficult for
I
me.
have
Like when
asked you
we
to focus. I've said like, look,
that's different.
I think you're focused on franchisees and operations a little too heavy. Let's focus on franchise development a little bit more in the next couple of months because we're going into this prime season and we need to have everything
Yeah.
going. Like that's I think a reasonable thing to say.
But
I
that's
didn't
what you're
say
supposed to
stop
say.
talking to them.
But that's what you're supposed to do too, because you're sitting back there, and when we're doing what we're doing, it allows you to be more free to be able to move the chess pieces around, focus on 6, 8, 10, 12 months down the road. So that's what you should be doing. But
Yeah,
to make it your own personal policy,
yeah.
that you're just now done. Now, this is not, I've heard this multiple times. This is not like one individual. And I'm really dumbfounded by that, because that to me just makes no sense. You are a big part of these people's lives, and all of a sudden now you're done. That's weird to me. That's weird
Well,
to me.
well, it's used car salesman-y. Like it's like, oh, well, they're off the lot, so I don't have to have anything to do with them. Like they just
Yeah.
in it for the sale. And like, look, man, in my opinion, there's a lot of ways to make a lot of money. Go and just making sales and just making deals without putting the human element into it. It doesn't seem moral. And it also doesn't seem like the way I'd want to operate my life. Just
That'd
burn
be,
and
yeah.
turn like that.
Yeah.
It would get. I couldn't do it for 8 years. Like we've done together. If it was just
Yeah.
burn and turn.
Yeah, it'd be difficult. And when I ask, why do you do that? They're just like, well, there's just no reason. And I'm like, man, I can think of 100 reasons to stay engaged with franchisees after they've signed their official franchise disclosure doc or franchise
Yep.
agreement.
Yeah. One of the
Like,
big reasons I do it, I like to stay in touch through the whole process too, or at least get a feedback loop from you during the Fran Dev part so I can be in touch on the operations part is, we're setting every year we have to set new requirements in the FDD on how much cash they had when they opened or how much they started with. And so like I want to know, are we setting those expectations realistically in your part of the process as they go through the whole process? Like you said, I'm taking like two steps back, looking at the whole end-to-end relationship, and I'm saying, did we set them up for success from the day one? Did they get capitalized properly? Did we said they needed $300,000? Would it have been better if they had 325? Like I have to make those
yeah,
assessments all the time, and you don't do that if you don't have that relationship if you personally don't keep that relationship intact from soup to nuts. I can't go to Marty and say, you remember that guy that signed up? He's a franchisee now. What did you tell him that he needed to get started? Well, if you just drop that relationship, you're not going to remember. Like, let's
nope,
just be honest. You're going to forget.
yep,
And And then, as you're talking to him, as he's open, he's gonna say, man, it would have been really nice if I had an extra 20K or extra 25K, which you can then give
Yeah.
me feedback about. So there's like, outside of the personal reasons and the human reasons and the moral reasons to stay in touch and keep that connection, I think there's a real good business case for it as well.
Well,
And
we
all those
did,
things
and
are not mutually exclusive. Like, you have
yeah.
to be in good business, you have to be a good human. Like,
And I can hear people right now saying that's not scalable, which I think multiple franchise brands have already proved that idea wrong. We've proved it wrong already.
we have,
That's saying that that's not scalable. And the reason I think folks say that is you just can't remember everything. And I think we've never really been set out to say we're going to do hundreds and hundreds of franchise deals a year. Do we want that? Of course. But that's never truly our initial igniter. Our igniter to do this was not to say hundreds and hundreds per year. It was one by one, focus, take as good care as we can. Yes, we have goals. Yes,
Yep.
we have numbers, but we never set out to say like hundreds. We know what we're scalable to do. And
Yeah.
it is hundreds, but it's not, that's beside the point. But
It doesn't
it's
take
more,
away from the fact that each person is an individual that needs
Yes.
that whole connection.
yes.
Even
And
though
a
we
lot of-
say I'd like to open 100 next year, it doesn't take away from that one person's experience through the
Because it
path.
can't. And we've experienced that not in our brands, but we've experienced that in other brands where it was just
Oh,
turn
yeah.
and burn, go, 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 go,
I
go, go, turn and burn,
evaluate
go.
brands all the time for acquisition purposes and whatnot, and they have no connection to their franchisees, just in fitness and other brands. And it just baffles my mind how they support their franchisees without even knowing them. Like, they don't know
So-
anything about them or what they need.
Yeah.
Like, what did they come here with business acumen or not? Did little simple things like that. They have no information written down anywhere about their franchisees. It baffles my mind.
So what's the takeaway? As a candidate, my takeaway is if I was listening to the new franchisee and I was wanting to take away, what am I supposed to in that transition? There's multiple takeaways, but what we're talking about right now is you're not in it alone. And if you as a new franchisee go out there and you don't get that immediate call back, or you feel a little bit lost, you're not sure in the direction, call. Do not sit back and say that this is just the way it is. I don't feel supported. If you say you don't feel supported, you need to take responsibility for that, because the franchise, and so do we, obviously, as a franchisor. I'm not putting it all on you, but it is a responsibility on you, the franchisee, that needs to understand that if you feel alone and you feel on an island all by yourself, you need to call, you need to reach out, you need to email, go on Microsoft Teams, message me, message David, message Shauna. There are so many people that will get all over it if something was missed, or if you feel like you're on an island by yourself. You can be supported. And it's always that old adage, right? Where I can be in a room full of people, but I feel totally alone. It's the same thing. You could be in a franchise being contacted by the franchisor via email or via text message, but you don't feel supported. Support is not just about the franchisor reaching out to you. Support is, how do you need to be supported? Have you communicated with your franchise performance coach? You may have done it with me, but have you communicated? I like to read more than I like to talk on the phone. I like for you to send me links so I can research it more than I like to talk on the phone. I would rather talk to you on the phone. And by the way, rah motivation doesn't work for me. If I tried to rah with Sam in Pennsylvania, and I tried to be energetic Marty to Sam, he just like, he's just, why are you doing that to me, Marty? Why are you talking
He's like
that?
the HAL 2000 Space
I
Odyssey.
appreciate your hello, Dave. I appreciate your energy and your enthusiasm, and I'm really happy to talk to you. It's all the same, right?
Sam's a great guy. If you're watching,
He's
Sam,
incredible.
we're not making fun of him.
He's incredible.
We're building Iron Health with him for that exact reason, because he is such a stud. Like, he's doing such a great thing, and you need that kind of even keeled.
Okay, so let's dive into that really quick before this goes too long. Let's dive into that part of it. So we got the one takeaway.
Yeah.
Now, this is a perfect transition to talk about all the great ideas new franchisees have. What did Sam do when he first came on board? He first established.
Well, it wasn't even before.
But what he did is he understood everything, the foundation first. He didn't dive in with any of his ideas until he fully understood the fundamentals of the brand, of the business model. And then he said, okay, let me incorporate a couple of little tiny things for me, right? So what I'm trying to say is, as a new franchisee, you get all excited, you have these great ideas. I'm probably going to feed off your ideas, but understand the fundamentals of the business model, understand your foundation. Then let's talk about your creative ideas and what you can incorporate. Now, even though we're the most flexible fitness franchise in the market, and we're proud of that, that's not the business model. That's talking about more of how does this club reflect you, your vision, your community, and still staying within inside our branding. Now
Right.
you can go. Now you can go.
So the thanks for that.
You're welcome.
The the thing that I loved about Sam is like he came with an idea from almost the get-go. Like he knew enough about us. He kind of did what I did. He came to us with a lot of information already, some research on a number of different brands that he was looking at the time. He also came with industry experience. So he comes to us not with an opinion, but an informed opinion. Not just, I think we should do it this way because I saw somebody on the internet say that. No, he's actually operated a lot of different facilities and had an informed opinion about what he thought might work in a small gym like we're building. And so he did that in the candidate process. If you remember, me and you and me, you, and him got on the
There you
phone
go.
all at the same time, and we had a call when he was still a candidate, and he was talking
Yep.
about it. There was, he had his own workout places and things, personal training studio. So there was a little bit of like, let's work out how this is going to work because it's a little unorthodox, but we worked with him. Flexibility, most flexible franchise gym in the market. And he said, this would really work well, I think, in a virtual coaching program that I've already started. And I think we could do this in a big way. And for me, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna see how he comes, how he comes in, how he gets his gym started, how he gets things going. Is he going to be a follower? Is he following the rules? Is he going to be a leader? Because to be a good leader, you have to follow the path still.
Mm-hmm.
And so within the franchise organization, would he do that? So we evaluated all of that. And man, he's just a rock star from the beginning. And so when he came back and said, I really want to do this virtual coaching thing, we kind of talked about it one time. And I said, okay, I didn't take it for granted that it was perfect, that he already had it all worked out. But what he did was he said, I'm going into pre-sales right now. Here's all my costs of acquisition for my members thus far. I've already rolled out a demo of this virtual coaching with my members in my gym. I've put together a huge slide deck and did all this stuff. I mean, he brought receipts, man.
Yep.
And that, I mean, he said, he always says you got to make people an offer that they can't refuse, that they feel silly for not refusing. And that's exactly what he did to me. So I know I was getting sold, but I'm okay with it because he's right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very powerful thing and a powerful example of how when you're listening to your franchisees and you bring the right franchisees on board and you bring a group of A-listers into the fold like him, the whole system is going to be just so much better for it. And now, so then I can do what I do. I take his idea, which was great, by the way, fantastic. It's going to be the anchor of everything that we do through Iron Health. And then I can say, okay, well, what does it take to add supplements, branded supplements from a high quality vendor, not the knockoff crap that people are selling, but the real high quality stuff. What's that actually take? Okay, we got that under wraps, or at least under process. What is it? What is the kind of thing that is motivating weight loss? Because most people go to the gym for weight loss. But in Iron 24, we have a little bit more of like people wanting to bulk up and things. So what can I do in that space, that's new? Well, GLP-1s are huge right now. So how can I don't want to become a pharmacy. I don't want to, set up all of that. How can I partner with somebody with Sam and make sure that all of our members have access to these important drugs for prescription weight loss purposes? And then, so we found that. We found a great partner. I'm actually just starting it, by the way. Full disclosure, I don't think we have to
Nice.
have a HIPAA signed document or anything if I disclose it. 7 pounds in like 3 weeks, not bad. So so we have all of these things, nutritional planning, just lights out, a full package. And we brought all of that together. And our franchisees have to do nothing but keep the lights on and keep their customers happy. Like, that's the kind of stuff that comes out of a relationship when you're standing shoulder to shoulder with your franchisees, and you bring the right franchisees into the group that are leaders in this space already. And I think that's a
Because
missed opportunity for so many
yeah,
brands, by the way.
yes, yes. And
Like,
there's
most brands would have
opportunity.
told Sam to
Yep.
pound sand,
Yep.
you know?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Same within, there's a couple of pieces out there, like with Kate in Liberty City, Texas, what he bought his massage piece that sits on the floor. It's not a chair, it's not a bench. It's actually from like it was invented back in the 70s and they redid it. Yeah, it was expensive. Members love it. And then he's
Yeah.
like, well, hey, I have members that also want to do my red light with a tanning bed. Can I do something like that? And sure, we have one of our vendors. Guess what? They'd carry that. So he brought some of that stuff forward, and like after
Yeah.
he was open for business,
I
after
mean,
he
that's
was
not to
already
say that
creating
we
revenue.
wouldn't say no to some stuff. If somebody wanted to bring back the 1950s jiggle belt, the thing that you stood on and it just jiggled your fat around, I'm pretty sure I'd say no to that. It just,
Well, yeah. There's some things that just don't work. I mean, and there's some
yeah,
things that you need an attendant for that we can't do. So,
yeah, yeah,
but the point of it is we are receptive, and
yeah,
we have franchisees that want to hear from other franchisees. We have franchisees that want to work together and understand, and that creates a positive, negative, just like ebb and flow relationship between franchisees a lot, because not everybody sees everything the same. So when you
yeah.
become a franchisee and you're onboarded, like we talked about, extending grace to your franchisor because you are in transition, just like we extend grace to you, it's totally reciprocal. We're not going to get on your case because you missed something, and but it is a process. We want you to
You,
focus
you know,
in on
you,
that process.
you said that, everybody's got different perspectives. And I used to say, if you ask two franchisees, you get three opinions. And sometimes you can think that that is a problem. And look, it has its hurdles, right? I mean, if everybody's got a differing opinion, and sometimes people can't even make up their own minds, that definitely has a level set issue that we have to resolve. Like, it's something that we have to deal with all the time and be cognizant of. But if you use it as your superpower, and you have this ability to kind of filter out the noise of it, there are so many diamonds in there that can be
Yep.
picked up and made into beautiful jewelry. That we can really refine this model into something bigger and better every time. So, like, that's what I look for. I look for those diamonds in all the noise that is not just franchisees, but even on our side. There's a lot of differing opinions about anything. We're going to roll out Iron Health. Well, maybe everybody doesn't want to offer GLP-1s
Yep.
because they've read something online that they whatever.
Yep.
How do we go to overcome that? How do we bridge those gaps and then build a system that is consistent for our customers that they would expect, right? So
So yeah, and I think just kind of lastly, as you think about becoming a franchisee and what that new franchisee experience is all about, um, it's really a lot. We're learning from each other. So there's this education gap. There's this learning gap that happens, or the learning timeline that we need to have, because there's an education gap. So as you become a new franchisee and you're in the system and you're figuring it all out, just know that you're never alone. We know that. You're going to be in transition. There's going to be trials. There's going to be ups and downs. Not every franchisee gets along with each other perfectly. Not every franchisee gets along with a franchisor. When you become a franchisee, don't feel like you need to fit in with everybody and everywhere. Get your foundation, get your fundamentals, be sure that you're communicating clearly with your franchisor or anybody inside that office on a regular basis. You're not in this alone. As soon as you feel that way, you need to reach out. And
yeah,
we obviously reach out to you as well.
yeah.
There's a lot of things that happen in that transitional period, and we are here to try and pull, well, not try, we will pull you along and pull you through it. You just have
I think
to be open to it.
I think that's a smart thing to be like cognizant of as you're going through it. We can set up these prescribed calls on the tracks and keep keep informed. But that's not always what you need. Information isn't what, sometimes you need a sounding board. Sometimes you need to vent frustration about something that happened that day. And
Yep.
we're here for that too. And we can't know to call you whenever you're frustrated, about something. You have to call us.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been
you
in the
call me
gym
3 times a
business.
day with different
Yeah.
levels of frustration, but
Yeah. That's
so,
okay.
and that's
And
okay.
understand the gym business. It's an interesting business.
It is
And
that. It is that.
you could get in there to clean up one day and there could be a mess and you need to vent and there could be unique things that happen and you need to vent. It's okay to
Yeah,
call and vent.
right.
Venting is okay.
You
Especially
won't believe what happens in the bathroom. Yeah.
yeah, I've spent 13 years of my life selling health club memberships, working in health clubs. I spent 12 years of my life helping people open up their own health clubs and opening up my own health clubs all over the country, thousands of people. Like, I get it. I know what it's like. I know how frustrating it is. I know how you just want to bang your head against the wall and how you just can't understand why somebody would treat another person that way or your property that way. Like, I get it. Dave has been a business owner. He's owned his own clubs. He owns his own clubs now. He gets it.
I've seen some
We
crazy
understand it.
stuff.
Yes. Oh my. We can. That's a whole nother podcast we can
I
do.
think
And the
I
things
think we
I've
need to
seen.
have a fun one where we just talk about the crazy stuff.
The things I've
Because
seen. Let me tell you.
the things I've seen, that's the name of it. Next time, maybe I'll
Yeah.
get it in the list. I'll get it in the list. All right, buddy. Well,
All
have a
right.
good week this week. If anybody is interested or wants to talk to one of our franchise development people, go to the website, iron24.com. There's a couple of different folks you can talk to. Marty might be the one you get in touch with, but everybody's going to take good care of you. And I want to get the rest of the guys on the call too. So we'll start introducing other people. So get some better looking folks than me and Marty on here for sure.
That'd be
All
great.
right.
I could do it. I have a face for radio, so it's totally fine if we go dark. So,
all right, buddy. Have a good week.
awesome. Awesome. You too.
Bye.